Gonna get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time this is for you from Leda Lanes at Nashua, New Hampshire. This is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. My name is Steve Kelly, and I will be your host, guide, friendly voice, and companion unobtrusive during this Class D North match between today's challengers, our away bowler, Veronica McAllister, and our home bowler, Chyrel Kneeland, at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Good as always to have you along with us. Originally live streamed on this Wednesday, January 31st, 2024, and available anytime afterwards for viewing whenever you would like. If you're new to the ACST or Candlepin bowling in general, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you and hope you enjoy what you watch today. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back, and your continued viewership is greatly appreciated as always. So we are just about to get started as we're just waiting for our bowlers just to get settled here. We have Veronica McAllister, who will be leading off as our away bowler first, and then we will have Chyrel Kneeland, our home bowler, bowling after Veronica McAllister's opening drive of 5 boxes. Our bowlers will be bowling 5 boxes at a time. We'll be bowling 5 strings tonight, as is the standard for the ACST match format. And we'll show you the rules real quick. It's a 5-string head-to-head match. The bowling is for standings points, for 2 points earned for each string won, 4 points earned for greater total pinfall. With an 18-match season, the top 8 bowlers make the playoffs. There's 4 division leaders, 4 wild cards, and it's all based on points, sort of like the NFL, but for Candlepin bowling. And without further ado, I think we're just about to get started, and our bowlers are going to shake hands, and they're going to start off at a busy house here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire on this Wednesday night. Plenty of leagues going on here. The Wednesday Mixed League has started just about maybe 10 or 15 minutes ago, shortly before we kicked off. Leda Lanes has 2 halves of the house. Lanes 1 through 18 on one side, lanes 19 through 36 on the side that you are viewing tonight. We were placed on lanes 23 and 24 tonight, and we are doing the best we can just to accommodate for everyone around us, as is the standard for busy leagues. And that should really be that. Leda Lanes opened in 1969, about 64 years ago. Family-owned and operated Candlepin Bowling Center located in Nashua, New Hampshire. Veronica McAllister is going to be throwing her first ball of her opening drive on lane 24 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Veronica McAllister's opening ball is right on the head pin. She's left with the 7, the 4, the 5, and the 10 pins, with no wood to assist. No dead wood, that is. Veronica's second ball sails between the 5 and the 10 pins on lane 24. Difficult shot for sure. If we didn't have the 4 pin up, this would be known as the Woolworth split, the 5-7-10, but the 4 pin is up. Veronica will take a 7 box after removing the 7 pin from the deck. So our first box of our opening drive is a 7. Leda Lanes has undergone a bit of a renovation recently in terms of the scoring system. Brand new Cubica AMF automatic scoring system has been put into place, and there's been some tweaks that are actively being made to that system at Leda Lanes. Most recently, they adjusted the automatic reset at Leda, as Veronica McAllister drops everything but the 2, the 4, the 5, the 7, and the 8 pins for a check mark left side plus the 8 pin. Saying hi to Sarah Wright, who's stopping by. Veronica McAllister is left with the 2, the 4, and the 7 on lane 24. Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire after 2 balls. This is her second box. Veronica McAllister is 33 and 93 for the season. She's been struggling a little bit. Had the honor of recording her high single for the season earlier this season at Academy Lanes. Her high single is 116. I believe I was streaming when she got that one, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering that correctly. Veronica McAllister's third first ball is a nice head pin shot, a lightly thrown head pin shot. Veronica's been doing great with the headpin shots so far. I don't believe she's missed the headpin yet on the first ball, as of yet. She's looking at the 8 and 10 pins with helpful wood. We'll see if she'll get a spare, and that will be the first spare of the match. Veronica McAllister is at an open 26 after 3 in a ball here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire tends to favor more lightly thrown balls when it comes to colder temperatures. At least that's my observation. Veronica McAllister throws a lighter ball, so this might be immensely helpful for her. She's throwing her ball for the fill off to the right side of the headpin, but will drop 6 to fill that spare with 6. That puts her at 32 after 3. With the 1, the 2, the 7, and the 8 pins left on the deck with some wood. The pocket shot of the 1 and the 2 will take that out, but she takes out the back row and leaves the 1 and the 2 instead. 8, 9, or 10 box possibility now for Veronica McAllister, pending this ball. It's going to be a 10 box, a very pretty 10 box. She's been throwing that ball in a slower fashion, but she's been aiming it very, very well. Veronica sits at 42 after 4 with that 10 box now. Veronica's high series for the ACST so far is 483 for this season. Veronica's season average is 91.4, 29th in the D class. Her average variance tends to be from the range of 87.1 to 92.4. Veronica is 4th place in D North Division 3 behind Alex Patton, Ray McAllister, and Chris Salmons. And after 2 balls, Veronica is left with the 1 and the 7, the high-low jack minus the 10 pin on lane 24. And Veronica will settle for an 8 box, missing the head pin. And she will sit at a 50 half. Her first opening drive is a 50 half, a statement half from our away bowler Veronica McAllister at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Appreciate you tuning into the stream. If you're just tuning in, you haven't missed all that much. This is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire tonight. And Veronica McAllister just finished her first 5 boxes of the first game, and now we turn to Chyrel Kneeland. First timer on the Steve Kelly streaming platform. Chyrel Kneeland is starting on lane 24. Season record of 64 and 76. Chyrel's season average is 96.7, which is the 23rd highest in the D class. Her average throughout the season has ranged anywhere between 94.1 and 97.1 by my math. So we wait for Darius to just remove a ball off of lane 22. Chyrel has dropped everything but the 2, the 4, and the 7 pins. She went for a spare, but just missed it wide right. 7, 8, 9, or 10 box opportunity for Chyrel Kneeland now on lane 24. And that is going to be a 10 box for Chyrel Kneeland. Anyways, to continue what I was saying regarding the scoring system at Leda, they've been making some tweaks recently. The most recent addition and the most recent adjustment, besides obviously the new Cubica AMF automatic scoring system, is that the automatic reset is no longer automatic at Leda. You now have to press the reset button at the end of the ball return to reset the lane. And that is to assist the new pin sensors, which are a little bit more tuned to 10-pin rather than Candlepin. And it turns out that if you just reset manually, you can have a little bit extra time to do some score corrections and validate scores, as opposed to having the pins be reset and having some conflict there. But anyways, Chyrel Kneeland has punched out the the spread eagle on her first ball, and the second ball sails right through the same opening that the first ball created. 4 pins down, 6 pins up for Chyrel Kneeland on lane 24 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. She'll settle for a 7 box, a decent out. Not bad for taking out half of the eagle after a misfire on the second ball. Chyrel sits at 17 after 2. Compare that to Veronica McAllister's 16 after 2. Chyrel Kneeland is in the hunt for a wildcard spot. She's getting closer. She needs to surpass Brian Hebert and Ray McAllister. to get into the wild card bracket for the playoffs at the ACST. Chyrel has dropped 4 pins on lane 24. Opening ball over 4th box. 3rd box, excuse me. Chyrel will take a few more for the road, leaving the 1, the 6, and the 10 pins on lane 24. Chyrel's high single is 123. Her high series is 511. She has 6 strikes, 69 spares, and 91 tens as of January 30th, as Chyrel leaves the head pin for a 9 box, putting her at 26 after 3. Your score update. Chyrel sits at 26 after 3 versus Veronica's 32 after 3. Veronica had a spare at this point in the game with a 6 fill. Chyrel may need to get a mark here to finish off with an equivalent or better half. Chyrel doesn't connect with the head pin, but has taken out a decent amount of pins with a decent leave. 1, 2, 4, and 5 pins on the... No, 1, 2, 4, and 8 pins, I believe. Let's get a closer look at that, why don't we? 1, 2, 4, and 8. Will Chyrel get it? The sleeper pin is the only one that stays. The 8 pin is the only one on the deck that has been left. Tough shot indeed. Sometimes you have to be careful about hitting too full or hoping for a cascading zigzaggy kind of shot. It's Chyrel Kneeland versus the 8 pin plus a piece of wood, and the piece of wood thwarted the attempt on the 8 pin's life, leaving the 8 pin to live to see another day until the pin setter at least took it out. That's a 34 after 4 for Chyrel Kneeland. With 1 to go. The target is 50 after 5. That's the benchmark that Veronica McAllister has set thus far. But there is, of course, also the other half, the entire other half of the first game that neither bowler has yet to bowl yet. Chyrel has dropped 4 so far, leaving the 1, the 3, the 7, 8, 9, and 10. Get a good look at that spread there. A pocket shot on the 1 and 3 should be enough to do it. That perpendicular wood on the 7 and the 8 should be just enough. Almost. Oh, will the piece of wood get it? Let's see what happens here. Pocket shot almost took everything out. Piece of wood very graciously took out the 9 pin, but the 10 pin remains on the deck with some awkward dead wood, 2 of which are illegal to hit. The leftmost one is legal to hit. And will it come over to take the 10 pin? It's going to take the 10 pin. That's a 10 box for Chyrel, sitting on a 44 half at this point in the game, as we welcome back Veronica McAllister to lane 23 this time at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. This is the second half of the first game we are just about to start off with. Veronica McAllister bowled a 50 half with a spare, the only spare and the only mark to be thrown tonight so far in this very, very early point in the game. But now let's see what Veronica McAllister can do on lane 23 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Slight adjustment to the camera here, just so we're all nice and square, and by square I mean rectangular, with camera cropping and zooming and all of that. Lane 23, Veronica took out the 7 pin on her first ball. Second ball much more successful, leaving the 2 and the 8 with some favorable wood. Let's see how this will go for Veronica McAllister now. Veronica McAllister will take a 9 box to start out her second half, putting her at 59 after 6 by my count. Confirmed by the automatic scoring system. Veronica McAllister, lane 23. Veronica's home lanes are Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. She is married to Ray McAllister. Both Ray and Veronica McAllister both bowl out of Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts, though I was talking to Ray McAllister prior to the start of this match, and he was possibly considering changing houses, but he hasn't made that decision just yet. For next season, that is. Veronica is working on taking some pins out. After 2 balls, there's 6 down and 4 up on lane 23. The 1, the 2, the 8, and the 10 pins. And the 1, the 2, the 8, and the 10 pins will be all that's are left standing after 3 balls in the 7th. That will be a 6 box for Veronica. 65 after 7 for Veronica McAllister. Veronica is strongest when it comes to 10 boxes, but has also been steadily improving in terms of spares. Very recently, too. Recently, Veronica faced off against Wynn Trafton at Academy Lanes in round 9. Unfortunately, Wynn Trafton took all 14 points in that game. Veronica had 7 spares and 11 tens. Her average for that match was 91.4, trending higher than most of her recent matches. Steady and consistent throughout, except for a slight dip in Game 4 with an 84 for Veronica. And Veronica will take out everything but the 8 pin, with the 10 pin slow to fall, and it was a good thing that pin did fall, otherwise it would have been a difficult split, that is. But this is for a 10 box now. Veronica will take a 9 box for 74 in 8. Wynn Trafton just couldn't be caught in that match against Veronica. Wynn just had a banner night, or banner afternoon. I don't recall when that match was, night or afternoon, whatever it was. Veronica is 4th in D North Division 3 behind Alex Patton, Ray McAllister, and Chris Sammons. 14th in the D North wildcard standings. Veronica is definitely hunting for some points. 4 drop after the first ball for Veronica on lane 23. Second ball leaves the 1, the 4, and the 7 pins on the deck. Third ball now to conclude the 9th frame. Could be a 7, 8, 9, or 10 for Veronica McAllister, and it's going to be an 8 box somewhere in the middle. For 82 and 9 for Veronica. Veronica's average is 91.4, so 10 box will put her over average. So things are looking up for Veronica McAllister right now. 82 and 9. Lane 23. Veronica McAllister was good at hitting the pocket in the first half. Let's see if she can bring back some of that magic for the final ball here. And it looks like she will connect with the pocket, leaving the 2, the 8, and the 10 pins with some wood. Let's get a look at where things are settling here. 2, the 8, and the 10 pins for a spare. Let's see what happens. Right idea. A little bit too full on the 2 and the 8. Thought it might have caught a break and maybe would have taken out the 10, but no such luck for Veronica. But this will put Veronica at average or above average. Taking this pin out will determine that. She's going to be above average. That's a 10 box for Veronica McAllister, putting her at 92 for her first game out of 5 on the road at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire against our home bowler, Chyrel Kneeland. Veronica McAllister putting up an over-average first game. Definitely a good way to start things out. Chyrel Kneeland now starting out on lane 23 for her second half of the first game, which will be box number 6. Chyrel Kneeland, season average is 96.7. Has averaged between 94.1 and 97.1 throughout the season. 3rd place in D North Division 1, ahead of Todd Holbrook and behind Wynn Trafton and Sarah Wright. Chyrel is nearing the wild card positions, as I mentioned earlier. Has to pass Brian Hebert and Ray McAllister to get there. Recently got some points back from Ray McAllister in round 10, taking 10 points to raise 4. Which greatly assisting her in terms of standings. She went up a few points. She had a 5-10 series, just 1 pin off of her high series thus far. She averaged 96.6 in that round with 9 spares and 14 tens. Chyrel is going to take a 9 box, I believe, on lane 23 for 53 and 6. For 53 and 6 for Chyrel Kneeland. Previously, before the Ray McAllister match, Chyrel Kneeland was against Alex Patton in round 9, taking 6 points to Alex's 8 for a 492 series. Her best games were games 3 and 4, as Chyrel's first ball takes out everything but the 4 and the 10 pins with a rather explosive pocket shot. There's a piece of wood in front of the 4. I think it might be a little bit too far out to be of use, but we'll see how Chyrel plays it. Chyrel will make contact with the 4 pin, but not enough to kick over to the 10 pin, unfortunately. Chyrel's best games against Alex Patton were games 3 and 4 with a 101 and 108 respectively. With 2 strikes, 8 spares, and 9 tens, Chyrel Kneeland will take a 10 box, I believe. For 63 in 7, compare that to Veronica McAllister's 65 in 7. Good showing for Chyrel, keeping pace with Veronica. And it looks like we might have a score correction going on, so actually hang tight on that 10 box. It might have been a fouled 10. We will pause real briefly just to make sure that that is all Gucci. If you're just tuning in, this is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Season-long series of one-on-one Candlepin bowling matches between challengers organized into classes and divisions competing for playoff contention. The Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, often abbreviated as the ACST, is a season of Candlepin bowling among bowlers sorted into classes and divisions calculated based on total bowlers as well as averages of the bowlers. Each matchup against 2 bowlers is a scratch match, which means there are no handicaps or other assistive point value modifiers other than what we see in the live matches. There is a maximum of 14 available points per match. 2 points are awarded to the winner of each game. The bowler whose cumulative total is the highest results in an additional 4 points awarded. A tie and a string will award each bowler 1 point. D class, the ACST is a north and a south half, 4 divisions between the 2 of them, each class with 32 bowlers, 16 in north and 16 in south. The way I like to understand it is, if you're anywhere familiar with the NFL and the way those divisions work, the ACST is a little bit like that. So to give you an update on the score, Chyrel did indeed have a 9 box in the 7th. That pause we took there was for the score correction. The new system at Leda Lanes does have a bit of a learning curve in terms of figuring out how to do the score correction, but once you figure it out, it is quite nice because you can perform the score corrections right down at the lanes without having to go up to the front desk, which is what you had to do with the old score system, the Pro Score Plus system. Anyways, Chyrel has taken out what appears to be 4 pins, 6 on the deck, the 1, the 2, the 4, the 8, the 6, and the 10. On lane 23, Chyrel will take out 1 more for the road, no spare, but a 10-box opportunity. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 possibility for Chyrel Kneeland. Let's take a look at those pins there. The 1, the 2, the 8, the 6, and the 10. Chyrel Kneeland for a 10-box. We'll get more than halfway there for an 8-box for 70 and 8. Might have one more score correction to make, actually. Chyrel had a 9-box in the 4th, according to the score system. I will adjust mine to stay in sync with them. If there is an adjustment, I will be sure to announce it as our bowlers notice it on their end, as their copy of the score is the one that's official. The one you see here on the stream is unofficial. Always need to stress that. The one that I'm keeping on the stream here is just me eyeballing it and presenting it for convenience of the viewer. Anyways, the 5 and the 9 pins left on the deck on lane 23 for Chyrel Kneeland. After 2 balls. 3rd ball is going to result in just the 5 pin standing for a 9-box for 80 and 9 for Chyrel Kneeland. If you're just tuning in, thanks for tuning in. You haven't missed too much. We are just about to conclude the first game. This is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, Class D North, here January 31st, 2024 at the wonderful Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, a 64-year-old bowling house. As Chyrel Kneeland drops 7, maybe 8 pins still rolling around on the deck. 7, 8, and 10 pins after 1 ball on the pocket. Tricky piece of wood on the 8. Might be the only hope of getting a spare off of this. Welcome to Candlepin Bowling. Difficult shots like this are things you don't see and can't possibly see in 10 pin. In 10 pin, there is no such thing as dead wood. Chyrel Kneeland for a spare, hitting the object wood, hitting the object pin, but doesn't kick over or spread enough to take out the 7 or the 10 pins. So now Chyrel is left with a 7-10 split. She's got to pick one or the other. For 9 or 10, Veronica will clinch the first game. That's a 9 box for Chyrel that will put her at 89 after 1 versus Veronica McAllister, claiming victory in the first game. 92 for Veronica McAllister, our away bowler, versus Chyrel Kneeland's 89. Veronica's clutch first half is definitely what drove her through this to result in a solid 2 points to start out the match. Perfect record so far for Veronica McAllister with a spare 6 fill in the first half that really set the edge and made the adjustment for the win. Anyways, let's move on to the second game now. As I said before, the winner of each game takes 2 points. Unless there's a tie, then 1 point is awarded to each bowler. Veronica McAllister will be starting out on lane 24. Chyrel Kneeland is the home bowler here at Leda Lanes in Class D. Leda Lanes was founded by the late Edgar and Ray Semino, passed down through Sean Howard, Linda Howard, Alexis Booley, along with Dave Semino, Matt Susi, Joe Booley, and other tons and countless hard-working folks at Leda Lanes, keeping this place busy and well-kept and renovated and all these cool improvements that are going in. You might have noticed on the left side there's some equipment still to be installed, kind of hanging out on the left side of lane 19. Veronica McAllister just barely missing the pocket for a fill. She's left with the 1, the 2, and the 9 pin. I know the 9 pin is a little bit hard to see, but it is behind the 1 and the 2 pin there. Chyrel for a 10 box. Not Chyrel, Veronica for a 10 box. Veronica will take that 10 box to start out her second game. Perfect so far. 10 box after 1, 10 after 1 in game 2. This is the main building of Leda Lanes, the not Glow Bowling building. The Glow Bowling building is called Leda's Lighthouse, and it's right across the parking lot. As Veronica McAllister will drop everything but the 1, 3, 6, 10, and 8 pins, missing the pocket to the left. As Veronica will go for a spare now on lane 24. Pocket shot will take this out. She leaves all but the head pin. Decent effort, but the ball just didn't sail to the left just enough to connect with the 1, 3 pocket. Instead, it took out the 3, 6, 8, and 10 pins. This main building of Leda Lanes features all wood approaches, all wood lanes, sensor-based automatic scoring, with newly added manual resetting. The scoring software on lanes 19 through 36 is known as Cubica AMF, while the outgoing score software on lanes 1 through 18 that is pending removal is called ProScore Plus version 25. You may notice, actually you won't notice because the score tables are no longer on this side of the house. Well, on lanes 1 through 18, the score tables contain just three buttons: skip, halt, and reset. Very simple system. Very easy to explain, other than just the automatic nature of the resetting of the lanes. But anyways, Veronica will take out the right side triangle, the 6, the 9, and the 10 for a 3 drop. Now Veronica will be working towards a spare, second ball, just off the pocket, taking only the 3 pin out. And now we are looking at just a 10 box opportunity for Veronica McAllister. 19 after 2. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. It's going to be a 5 box. Sorry, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. It's going to be a 5 box for Veronica McAllister. That's 24 after 3 for Veronica McAllister here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Veronica McAllister, our away bowler tonight. Chyrel Kneeland, our home bowler. Away in green, home in red. Veronica on lane 24, first ball of the opening drive of game number 2, leaving the 1, 3, 6, and 9 pins. Should be a decent spare opportunity if she connects with the 1, 3 pocket and hits full enough to take out the 9 pin behind the array of 1, 3, 6. And I think we're just going to pause for a moment to figure something out with something. I don't know. Let's talk about our bowlers or get some stats up on the screen here. So we are at Leda Lanes. Yes, it's a 64-year-old bowling house. There's plenty of things to do at Leda Lanes. Poker, karaoke, billiards. Some days there's cornhole.
Down there because our balls are getting damaged.
Oh, really? Oh, they're getting, scratched up.
Yeah, super.
Oh, wow, yeah. Okay, that's all right. Not a problem. Yep. I've just been informed what was going on with the delay. There is a bit of a mechanical issue behind the lanes in terms of the ball return and the bowling ball, so we're just going to wait on that. That's okay, not a problem. Anyways, so yes, we're at Leda Lanes. Dave Simino is working really hard tonight, as he does on most league nights. He's running all around, helping out with bowlers, helping out with scoring, helping out with score corrections, helping out with lane breakdowns and repairs. Dave Simino does it all. Dave Simino is awesome, especially when he gets on the mic and goes, "Attention bowlers, please finish your warm-up frames. We'll be changing the scoring in just a moment." And coming up soon at Leda Lanes, there's going to be a Valentine's Day tournament. I believe it's going to be on February 10th, if my memory serves. It's going to be a doubles tournament. So if you're interested in tournaments coming up, that's definitely one to watch out for at Leda Lanes. And in past years, there's also been the St. Patrick's Day tournament. I believe that's going to be in March. Yet to be announced, but I believe it will be coming soon. And of course, there is the all-important Easter Classic following shortly after, as I believe Easter is a little bit earlier this year. The Easter Classic at Leda Lanes is sort of like the Super Bowl of Candlepin bowling. All the best bowlers from all around the world, and I do mean around the world, U.S. and Canada, they come to Leda Lanes in sort of this traditional 20-game throwdown. It's open to anybody, though, so if you want to bowl against the pros, you totally can. But it does fill up fast, the Easter Classic at Leda Lanes. Anyways, after a slight delay, Veronica McAllister does throw that ball. She only takes out the 6 pin, leaving the 1, the 2, and the 9 pins on lane 24 for a 10 box potentially. It's going to be a 7 box for Veronica McAllister for 31 after 4. There was a previous score system at Leda, and this goes way back, used up to the early 2000s as a computerized but still manual score system that utilized a dot matrix digital screen readout with a much more involved keypad at each score table. Looks like Dave Simino figured out what was going on behind the scenes, so he's just explaining that to Chyrel. Veronica has taken out 6 in her first ball to conclude her first half, with potentially a spare here if she can connect with the object pin, the head pin, the 1, the 8, the 6, and the 10 now. Will it be a spare? It leaves everything but the 8 pin. She hit it right. It just didn't go full enough to go directly back to take the 8 pin out. But yeah, I remember the electronic scoring system in the 90s at Leda, and it's amazing how far this place has come from that to now these brand new, this 3rd generation automatic scoring system at Leda. Excuse me, just 3rd gen electronic scoring system at Leda, because the first one in the 90s was not automatic technically. Anyways, that's 40 after 5 for Veronica McAllister. She couldn't find a mark this time, but I'm sure she will. Anyways, Chyrel Kneeland is going to be starting out on lane 24 as she takes the approach. Leda Lanes features 36 lanes, 18 on each side of the house. I believe what lanes are now known as 1 through 18 are actually the addition side of Leda Lanes from Winnipeg's Gate City Bowl. Used to be on Daniel Webster Highway in Nashua, New Hampshire, donated and transplanted to Leda Lanes after the former alley closed. The 2011 Nashua Telegraph article states that that expansion happened in the early 1980s. Gate City Bowl was next to a duck pin and later 10-pin alley called United Bowling Center, and later renamed Nashua 10-pin Bowl, which closed in 1995 after being renamed one last time to Fair Lanes. Chyrel is left with the 1, the 3, and the 8 after 2 balls so far to conclude her first box of the opening drive of the second game with a 10 box, just like Veronica did. 10 after 1. Bowlers are tied in the first game of this first box of the second game for game 2, 10 to 10. Veronica McAllister took the first game with a 92. Chyrel just barely falling underneath that with an 89 in the first. As Chyrel takes out the right side triangle, the 6, 9, and 10, missing the head pin wide right. I personally argue that each of the two halves of Leda lanes has a different personality and feel to it. If you bowl at Academy lanes, you might feel a very similar sentiment. It would only make sense considering lanes 1 through 18 are technically from a different bowling alley added on later at Leda lanes. Chyrel will take a 9 box with a difficult split with a 3-4. It's 19 after 2 for Chyrel Kneeland. I personally believe that lanes 19 and 36, that's the half that we're looking at tonight, they're a lot more satisfying to me and much more exciting pin action as well as scoring. Dave Semino, however, believes that lanes 9 and 10 are statistically the highest scoring lanes in the house. Chyrel's first ball, once again, hitting the right side triangle. Deja vu from the last first ball. 6, 9, and 10 taken out. Lane 24. I don't know if I agree that lanes 9 and 10 are statistically the highest scoring lanes in the house, but I know when I was younger I had trouble with lanes 9 and 10, so that might be why I'm a little biased in terms of that. Recently I was able to bowl 138 on lane 9, so who knows? Maybe it was just a skill issue. Chyrel versus the 4 horsemen left side. She takes out all but the 10 pin. And that will be a 9 box for Chyrel to conclude her third box, putting her at 28 after 3. Compare that to Veronica's 24 after 3. That's where we stand after 3 boxes in the second game here at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. This D-Class North match between Veronica McAllister, our away bowler, and Chyrel Kneeland, our home bowler. Veronica McAllister, 33 and 93 for the season. Chyrel Kneeland, 64 and 76 for the season. Chyrel off the head pin, this time to the left instead of the right. Making an improvement, but possibly an overcorrection. Chyrel Kneeland is a self-described, self-employed gigger of many things. Her favorite job is pet sitting and house sitting. She's a jack of many trades, ranging from yard operations to construction site work. Chyrel Kneeland does it all. So next time you need an odd job, Chyrel Kneeland might be your person. Chyrel's perfect box percentage is 37. Seasonal total pins of 48-33. And that will be a 10 box for Chyrel to put her at 38 after 4. With 1 to go, she just has to get to 40 after 5 to stay on pace with Veronica McAllister, so she needs a 2 box or better. And it looks like we will be starting out now. Anyways, after 1 ball on lane 24 for the 5th box of the second game, Chyrel has left the 1, the 2, the 4, the 7, and the 9 on the deck. That's the 4 horsemen left side, plus the 9 pin on lane 24. Can be a decent spare and a pretty spare if you hit the pocket right, but Chyrel will just take out the 7 pin. Now it's just the 3 horsemen and the 9 pin on lane 24. For a 10 box, Chyrel will take a 7. That'll be a 7, putting her over 40 for the half. That's 45 and 5 for Chyrel. And we might need to pause for a brief correction of the score then, because looks like we're clearing a ball and Chyrel has not halted the system, so we're going to have to make a bit of an adjustment there before we continue. So we'll pause for a moment. Actually, it seems it might be okay, actually. Interesting. Even I'm still learning this score system myself, so you know what? We'll take what we can get. Leda Lanes has a bar called Kegler's Den. Offers an impressive number of taps, drinks, food, entertainment, karaoke, poker, and plenty of other events. Sometimes live music. I have seen it. Used to be pizza parties in there for the junior leagues way back in the day. I think it's possible that might still be a thing. Haven't been in the junior league in quite some time at this point. Veronica took out the left side 4-7-8 for her first ball. The second ball, she has taken out everything but the 1 and the 2 pins for a potential 10-box opportunity to start out her second half of the second game at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour here at Leda Lanes. This match between Veronica McAllister and Chyrel Kneeland. Veronica will take a 9-box for 49 after 6. The match lead now being passed around as it is very close, along with the game lead. So this is a very close match, very tight match so far. Still plenty of bowling to go, though, because we have 3.5 games left to go here. If you're just tuning in, you haven't missed much, and there's still plenty of bowling here to go in this match here tonight. Veronica has a perfect box percentage of 30. Chyrel has a perfect box percentage of 37 by comparison. Veronica's high series is 483. She has 6 strikes, 50 spares, and 78 tens for the season, not counting this match. And that is going to be a spare for Veronica. It's almost like she heard me. It's a spare, putting her at open 59 plus a ball in the 7th box of the second game for Veronica. So far, Veronica has been bowling very well. For her average of 91.4, she has been bowling over average after one game, and she is on pace to possibly do that again, especially if she can fill this spare very well and continue to score boxes of 9 or higher. Let's see what this fill ends up shaking out to be. It looks like it's going to be a 6 fill after all is said and done, with the dust clearing down there in terms of the deadwood. We are left with the 5, the 9, the 10, and the 6.
What are you streaming on?
Facebook.
On Facebook?
Yeah, just the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour page. And it looks like Veronica will leave the 6 and the 10 on the deck after a decent spare attempt, but that is admittedly a difficult shot given the placement of the deadwood. Veronica will take an 8-box, I believe, as the pin went into the gutter. We'll confirm that, but I was eyeballing it, and I believe it was an 8-box. We'll make sure the bowlers conclude the same conclusion. So we wait for them to figure out the brand new scoring system at Leda Lanes provided by Cubica AMF, the scoring system that allows you to perform score corrections right at the touchscreens, which is super nifty and quite an improvement compared to the outgoing score system, in which you had to go back to the front desk if you wanted to make any score correction. Really speeds things up. So that's 73 after 8 confirmed for Veronica McAllister. That was an 8-box, not a 9-box. Opening ball of the 9th frame is an ugly 4-drop. I believe that might be called a lemon drop. Excuse me, a 1-drop of the 4-pin, to be totally specific. Veronica for a spare now. Let's see what she can get out of this. She will leave the 4 horsemen right side, the 1, 3, 6, and 10 pins on the deck. Veronica has 41-15 seasonal total pins. She's 4th in D North Division 3. And that will be a 10-box for Veronica, putting her at 83 and 9. Again, on pace for her average at this point. Veronica can eke out some points tonight. That will definitely assist her in the chase to rise up through the ranks of the wildcard standings as well as D North Division 3. So Veronica will drop 7, a slow 7. I thought it was going to be 4 horsemen left side, but the 7-pin falls late. Pocket shot will take this out. A 1-2 pocket shot. Let's see what Veronica McAllister can do here. She will take out the 4-pin, and the 4-pin only. So no spare, but a potential 8, 9, or 10 box is in the cards. 93 if she can get a 10 box, but it's going to be 91 Can't award decimal points, but the 8 box will put her at 91, which reaches her average of 91 if we round down. Her season average is 91.4, but hey, 91, not bad. That's still very good in terms of average. So 91 is the benchmark for Chyrel Kneeland to beat, as she now steps up to the approach on lane 23, out of this lane 23-24 pair that we are bowling at tonight at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Just bowling around us. There's some open bowling going on. There's the Wednesday Mixed League going on to the left of us as well as behind us outside of the view of the camera. Chyrel Kneeland on lane 23. First ball thrown a little bit too hard, a little bit to the left. Dropping 3, leaving 7. Chyrel now trying to get a spare or something out of this, and she nearly gets it. She leaves the 5-pin with a kick of the 1-3-6-10, a cascading ball around, taking the 7-pin and all the friends of the 7-pin. And apparently the guy bowling on lane 22 as well, possibly. Left with only the 5-pin for a 10-box opportunity for Chyrel Kneeland. That will be a 10-box to start her first frame of the second half out with 55 and 6 for Chyrel Kneeland. 55 and 6 for Chyrel compared to 49 and 6 for Veronica McAllister. Here at Leda Lanes. Not the coldest night, but not the warmest night either. The air is a little bit warmer in Leda Lanes than I think it has been the past couple days, which is a welcome change. Since it can get a little bit chilly in here, and that can affect the way the pins fall. Usually at Leda, the tell is if it's cold in here, throw lighter. Just some pro tips from me. Chyrel for the spare, leaving the 1 and the 8-pin, missing the pocket, missing the object pin. But potential for a 10-box here. Chyrel averages 96.7 for the season so far, 23rd highest in D class. That will be a 9-box for Chyrel Kneeland, leaving the 8-pin on the deck. 64 and 7 so far versus Veronica McAllister's 65. So she is only 1 pin down for Veronica at the equivalent point in the match. So like I said, definitely back and forth in terms of points, in terms of game points and match points so far. Veronica has taken 2 so far. Chyrel has dropped 8. Potential easy spare here. Could be a layup. Piece of wood in front of the 4 and the 7. I do not know if I like the placement of that wood. It might be a little bit too far up. You have to hit it just light enough to make sure it doesn't helicopter out of the way. Let's see what Chyrel can do. That is precisely the way I would have played it. And that's the way Chyrel played it. That's a spare for Chyrel. Open 74 and a ball in the 8th frame. That puts her ahead of Veronica and possibly on pace to take the second game. Possibly giving Chyrel 2 points for the night so far. As the guy to the left of Chyrel with a very enthusiastic strike. Chyrel's fill now is more than 4. It's going to be not more than 4. It's going to be exactly 4. 4 fill. 78 and 8 for Chyrel. Filling that spare with 4. Let's see what Chyrel can do with this. Full pocket shot would take it out, but she leaves the 3 and the 8 pins. Mostly hitting the object pin, but probably not in the pocket I would have gone for. Just probably a little bit off to the left. For the 3 and the 8, Chyrel will take a 9. Taking out half of the duo on the deck. 87 and 9 for Chyrel. That puts her, she clinches the second game now, as long as she can get 4 pins or better. So technically not clinching it just yet, but we shall see where this goes. So lane 23, Chyrel Kneeland. It's a 3 drop so far. Left side diamond for the 7 and the 8 pins. for the spare, leaving the 1, the 2, and the 10 pins. Another smattering of pins taken out. Chyrel Kneeland on lane 23 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. This Wednesday night bowling, WNB. And it's going to be a 7-box. She will clinch the second game for 94 in 2. 94 after 2. And after 2, I mean after the second game. So Chyrel will take the second game and will take 2 points. The game lead 3. The match total identical. 183 for both bowlers. This is a very close match at this point. And the points are identical. The pins are identical. Veronica taking the first game 92 to 89. Chyrel Kneeland taking the second game 94 to 91. Both bowlers achieving 183 for a 2-game total. And we will be moving on to the third game. Neither bowler should be upset today. They are definitely, both these bowlers are going to be going home with points regardless of what happens tonight, and they are keeping it competitive. This is what we like to see in the ACST. We don't really like to see blowouts, you know. We don't really like to see big 14-0s, although it can be exciting for the bowler bowling 14-0, but, you know, we like to spread their wealth around just a little bit. Anyways, Veronica McAllister starting on lane 24 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Her first opening ball has left the 1, the 2, and the 4 pins. That's a 7-drop. 7-drop, leaving 1, 2, and 4. For a spare, potentially, if she can hit the 1-2 pocket. Veronica for a potential spare. She leaves the 1 and the 2, taking out the 4 only. Veronica McAllister, 33 and 93 for the season. High single, 116. High series, 483. It's going to be an 8-box for Veronica to start out the third game. That's 8 and 1. Veronica's perfect box percentage is 30. Veronica McAllister coming up here from Haverhill, Massachusetts. She bowls out of Academy Lanes for her home lanes, her home house. Veronica McAllister misses the head pin to the right. Taking out 3. 3 down, 7 up on lane 24. Chyrel is assisting Darius with a score correction on lane 22. I suppose the extracurricular going on in the background. The 1 and the 7 pins left on lane 24 for Veronica McAllister. No spare opportunity, but an 8, 9, or 10 box opportunity now for the third ball of the second game. Veronica is going to get 9. Takes out the head pin, leaving the 7 pin. Hits the object pin in the right spot, but the ball just doesn't careen out to the 7 pin in the way that it should. That should be 17 after 2 for Veronica McAllister. If you're new to Candlepin, you're wondering why there's a third ball being thrown. Well, that's because it's 3 balls per frame in Candlepin. If you don't get a strike or a spare, you have a third ball opportunity to get what is called a 10 box. And if you're in 10 pin, just think of it as a spare with a 0 fill, because it's effectively the same thing. You still can get a spare with a 0 fill in Candlepin. You can get a strike with a 0 fill in Candlepin if luck goes your way or goes against your way. Anyways, that's a 4 horseman right side plus the 8 pin drop for Veronica McAllister. This might be a spare. Something tells me this could be a spare if she hits the 1-3 pocket the right way. And, well, hey, I can be wrong some days. She takes out the 4 horseman right side but leaves the sleeper 8 pin behind it. I thought it had the potential to go with the way that wood was positioned, but hey, we're all wrong sometimes. So it's Veronica versus the 8 pin. That's going to be a 10 box for Veronica. 10 after the third for 27 and 3 for Veronica McAllister. That's 27 after 3. Chyrel has yet to bowl in this third game because we are just starting out the first opening half of the third game, naturally, so the totals are a little uneven at this point. Veronica McAllister will take out the 6, the 9, the 10. This seems to be a common theme, not only with this match, but in the match I called just a couple days ago on Sunday. I want to say it was, I might have this wrong, I believe it was Paul Kravitz that was doing this as well, but I'm not entirely sure. Feel free to go back and watch that match and see who was doing it. Veronica now just off the left side this time, making an overcorrection from her first ball. Now for a 10 box, it looks like it's going to be a 9 potentially, leaving only the 5 pin. It is going to be a 9 box for Veronica McAllister. 36 in 4 with that 9 box. With an 8, 9, 10, and 9. And there might need to be a score correction because it looks like the automatic scoring system miscounted a pin or undercounted Veronica on the computer. So I will stand by for the score correction. The automatic scoring system currently says 35. Oh, and it's been corrected to 36. Okay, so I had it right. The automatic system had it wrong. See, this is the whole thing about score corrections, that it's nice when you can just kind of fix it manually at the end. Or not at the end, at the touchscreen here down at the lanes, as opposed to running up and having to find Dave Semino and give him else something to do. Veronica McAllister, lane 24, first ball, the 5th box. She's off the head pin to the right again, taking out only the 7 pin. A deja vu of the second ball she threw in the previous box. She's at 36 after 4 so far. And she hits the 1-3 pocket, but a little bit too full, leaving the 4, the 8, the 6, and the 10 pins. This is going to be a difficult 10 box for sure. You may just have to pick the half you want to get. And Veronica will sail through the center instead for a 6 box. 42 and 5 to conclude the exact halfway point of Veronica's match. 2.5 games out of 5. 42 in 5 as of the 3rd game. Chyrel Kneeland now looking to answer on lane 24. At Leda Lanes. Busy house, lively house tonight. Lanes 33 and 34 in particular at Leda Lanes are famous for being the lanes featured during the tapings for Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV 50 in the late 90s and early 2000s. After the show transitioned away from the late Park Place lanes in Windham, New Hampshire, Chyrel Kneeland drops 8 in her first box with a 4 and 8 pins left on the deck for a potential spare opportunity. Chyrel Kneeland for the spare. She just barely misses the 4 pin. I swear the wind probably grazed it as the ball sailed past it to the left. Candlepin is a game of millimeters. Lanes 33 and 34 at Leda Lanes are also used for the taping of the revitalized Candlepin skins. New episodes will be airing soon on Candlepin Corner on YouTube. That's an 8 box for Chyrel Kneeland to start off her first frame of the 3rd game out of 5. This is our first half. She'll be bowling 5 boxes before we switch back to Veronica.
I'd go home already.
Chyrel Kneeland, our home bowler at Leda Lanes tonight. Chyrel taking out only the 10 pin. Bit of a misfire. Ball doesn't sail left like it normally does for Chyrel. But this could be a pretty spare if she can connect with the pocket. Let's see what Chyrel can do here. Will it be a spare? Nearly. The 5 pin will wiggle and wobble, but like a weeble, it won't fall down. So 9 or 10 box. Like I said, it was almost the pretty spare opportunity, and she hit the object pocket just in the correct spot. There's a piece of wood to the left of the 5 pin that may be problematic if it's hit the right way, but in this case it wasn't. That's a 10 box for Chyrel Kneeland. 18 after 2. Compare that to Veronica's 17 after 2 at the same point in the game. Leda Lanes has, like I said before, Kegler's Den. If you need food or drink, that's the place to go if you don't want to leave the building. Next to Leda Lanes used to be the Grand Buffet, and in the 90s it was the Kahala Chinese restaurant. The building no longer stands as of today. It was bulldozed just about a week and some change ago. The whole area there is being rebuilt for a new shopping plaza, I believe, in the coming months or years or whenever that's built. Chyrel taking out 2 more from a 1, 3, 7, and 10 split, I believe. Now she's left with just the 1 and the 7. Chyrel Kneeland for 2/3 of the high-low jack. She's going to settle for an 8 box. 26 after 3. Versus Veronica McAllister's, after Veronica McAllister's, wow, 27 after 3. And both bowlers, like I said, they're staying incredibly competitive within a margin of sometimes 0 pins, sometimes 1 pin between each other. They've both taken 2 points apiece so far. At some point, something's got to give in terms of the total. It'll be interesting if we have a full tie all the way down the center, but we'll see where that shakes out. Chyrel taking out the 6, 9, and 10 again. Again with the 6, 9, and 10 shots. Seeing a lot of this lately. See what Chyrel can do for a spare. Ooh, is it going to go? Again, almost a nice pretty spare, but the 7 pin remains this time instead of the 5 pin. There's some wood there, so it should be a nice layup for a 10 box. Let's see what Chyrel can do to get that 10 box. Just needs to hit one of those 2 pieces of wood pretty much from anywhere. And just like that, that's a 10 box. For a pattern of 8-10, 8-10 for Chyrel, 36 after 4, tied with Veronica McAllister's 36 after 4. Chyrel's record is 64 and 76 for the season thus far. She's in the hunt for a wildcard spot. Her high single is 123. Her high series is 511. Chyrel fires down the center, leaving the 5 and the 9 pins. Piece of wood potentially helpful for a spare, but I don't know if I trust it again. I might opt for just going for it directly if you can just shoot straight down the center into the pocket of the 5 and the 9. We'll see what Chyrel can do here, though. It's up to the bowler to make that choice every time. She's going to go for the wood, and that was what I was worried would happen. You see, with the wood coming out that far, it may not sail far back enough to get the back row. Candlepin can also be a bit of an optical illusion game. 9 or 10 box for Chyrel is going to be a 9 box, putting her at 45 and 5. That puts her up by 3 for the game and up 3 for the match, as this is a very tight game and match so far. Chyrel is at 228 after 2.5 games. Veronica McAllister at 225 after 2.5 games. Very tight match, very competitive match for these 2 D-class bowlers. Veronica is the away bowler, coming up from Haverhill, Massachusetts at Academy Lanes. Chyrel Kneeland is our home bowler, bowling at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. And Veronica is starting out on the approach on lane 23, looking to probably get a mark to maintain her average of 91.4. See what Veronica can come up with. On the head pin. I definitely think she deserved more than what she got. She takes out 6, leaving out the 2, the 4, the 7, and the 10 pins. Veronica now for a spare. It's going to be a difficult shot for a spare. The 2, 4, 7, 10. Ball sails through the middle and just barely doesn't connect with the 2, the 4, the 7 in pocket. The 2 in the 4 pocket specifically. Or the 2, or the invisible 2-5 pocket. Veronica McAllister for a 10 box now. It's going to be an 8. Looks like it's going to be an 8 for 50 in 6 for Veronica McAllister. Again, the game lead and the match lead being passed around. Our bowlers trading blows in terms of sailing those around. And it looks like lane 29 just had a plane crash. Pin sweep just got completely messed up on lane 29. That was interesting. Anyways, back to our match. Veronica again taking out the 6, 9, and 10. And again, I don't like to repeat myself, but the 6, 9, and 10, what is up with that on the first ball? Lane 23 for the spare. Veronica takes out everything but the 1 and the 3 pins now for an 8, 9, or 10. Potential. So potential 60 and 7 for Veronica McAllister. Fires, going to be a 10 box for 60 in 7, just as planned for Veronica McAllister. 60 and 7. On pace for her average if she can get a mark. 10 boxes won't necessarily reach that benchmark. It'll be a margin of 1.4, but still a margin. Veronica now missing to the left, taking out only the 4 pin. I believe some might call that a lemon drop. Veronica McAllister now is looking at a potential spare opportunity. The 9-pin spare, as we might call it. I don't know who calls that a 9-pin spare. Anyways, Veronica for the second ball and a spare. Valiant attempt, but leaves the 1, the 2, and the 7 pins on the deck. 4 horsemen left side minus the 4 pin. Need to connect with the 1 pin in some way, either the 1-2 pocket or the invisible 1-3 pocket to get that kick. But Veronica misses and will get a 7 box instead for 67 in 8 for Veronica McAllister. Veronica bowled her high single at Academy Lanes, and I believe I covered that match previously. You can go back and watch that match on the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Facebook page. And by the way, if you're into this kind of bowling, check out the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Facebook page. You might be watching this there now, or if you're watching this somewhere else, go give it a look. Also, check out Candlepin Bowling Network on YouTube, as well as Candlepin Corner. There's also Alley Chat. There's the Candlepin Chat Facebook group. And there's the Friday Night Pro League, which is where all the pros amass every Friday night across a bunch of different bowling houses, and some of these are live streams for thrilling 3-string professional Candlepin bowling matches. 688-100 is the 50-50 number for the night, in case anyone bought a ticket at home somehow. I don't think you did, but Veronica McAllister will take a 9 box in the 9th for 76 and 9. And at this point, Veronica's probably going to need a mark to really keep things going here. At least to maintain pace with her average, which is 91.4, 29th in the D class. For those keeping score at home, Veronica McAllister on lane 23, on the pocket this time. Dropping 6, though, a 4, 7, 9, 10. Welcome to Candlepin Bowling. Sometimes you can have a perfect ball and you can be left with something like this. So there's a bunch of wood here. Again, with the 4, the 7, 9, the 10. Might have to hit that wood in a certain way to take it out, but Veronica doesn't connect with it. My opinion, hit the left side of that frontmost wood to take out everything. And this is going to be for a 10 box now for Veronica. Her second attempt on this. She's going to hit that piece of wood. And will it go? She's going to take a 9 box. It looked like for a moment it might have gone, but that didn't quite happen. That's an 85 for Veronica McAllister's third game for a 3-game total of 268. This has been her lowest scoring game of the night so far compared to her 92 and 91, but there's still 2 games to go, and Chyrel still has to bowl her second half, so stay tuned in terms of who wins this game here on the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Hope you enjoy this broadcast tonight. If you're just joining in, welcome. If you've been watching, hey, happy to have you along, as always. Chyrel Kneeland on lane 23 at Leda Lanes for a strike, and she gets it. That's the first strike of the night for Chyrel Kneeland, a slow-moving strike. The final pin taking its time, carefully deciding if it was going to go down, but it did go down. That's an open 55 plus 2 balls in the 6 for Chyrel Kneeland in her second half. And it looks like the score system down there scored it as a 9, funny enough, but it was a strike. You saw it, I saw it, Chyrel saw it, Veronica saw it. We all saw it. Kubica AMF didn't see it, but that's why we have score correct. Chyrel Kneeland on lane 23, filling a strike now for a potential double strike. First strike of the game from any bowler of the match so far. Chyrel has 6 strikes for the season. That was her 7th. Chyrel on lane 23. Not a strike this time, but a 6 drop for her first fill ball. For 61 plus a ball. And a potential spare here opportunity. Let's see what Chyrel can do. Fires, misses left. So it is going to be only a 6 fill on that strike. For 61 and 6. Potential 71 and 7 if she can get this 10 box. Let's see what Chyrel Kneeland can do. It will be a 6 box. So it'll be 67 and 7 for Chyrel after a strike. 67 and 7. 3 boxes to go. Has to make it to 85 or better to tie or win. To tie or take points. Tie will take 1 point. Winning will take 2. Both bowlers have taken 2 points thus far. They've each taken 1 game. Chyrel Kneeland on lane 23, throwing the ball a little bit harder than normal. But it looks like that might have paid off. The pins are still falling. Potential 5 drop, and then it became a 7 drop. The 7, the 9, the 10 pins with wood. That harder throw for Chyrel looks like it may be paying off on her first ball, at least. Chyrel for a spare. Let's see what happens. Only the 7 pin taken out by that frontmost wood. One of those shots where one might argue hitting it from the right side or the left side might be a better opportunity, but it's also Candlepin where anything can happen. Chyrel will get a field goal. Can't give you 3 points, but how about 8? That's an 8 box for 75 and 8 for Chyrel Kneeland. Surpassing Veronica McAllister at the same point in the game where she had 67 and 8. Chyrel now has 75 and 8. 11 pins will get Chyrel 2 points here across 2 boxes. So a 6 and a 5 will do it at a minimum. Chyrel again with a harder thrown first ball, but this time the pins are less kind. 3, 5, 6, 4, and 7 on the deck. This is a difficult spare shot. You basically have to go for the 3-6 pocket to achieve this. Maybe the 3-5 pocket, but it's a much riskier shot. And if you're crazy, maybe the 4-7, and if it's a full moon or something, or a waxing crescent. I don't know which one it's going to be, but it'd be difficult spare regardless. Chyrel opting for the 3-6 pocket, but doesn't get much out of it. She only takes out the 6, not quite connecting with the 3. Now she's left with the 3, the 5, the 4, and the 7 on lane 23 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. It's going to be a 6 box for Chyrel. 81 and 9. She needs a 5 box to take 2 points, a 4 box to tie. So that's the benchmark at this point on lane 23 for Chyrel at the 3rd game here. Just a little over the halfway point of this 5-game match. That's 7 drop. That's a 7 drop. That will be the 3rd game going in Chyrel's favor. She will take another 2 points at this point for a potential spare opportunity, and now she's playing for the total to get some bonus pins for the forthcoming games. That is a spare for Chyrel Kneeland. Right on the 3, 5, 6 triangle. Not a diamond because the 9 pin wasn't there, but that was a perfectly executed spare shot by Chyrel Kneeland, her 2nd mark of the game, with a strike in the 6th and a spare in the 10th. Open 91 plus a ball for Chyrel Kneeland now. Chyrel's high single is 123, so she doesn't have enough frames left to surpass that, but that's just for a frame of reference. That's going to be a disappointing 3-fill directly down the center. A 3-pin spread eagle for Chyrel to conclude with a 94. 2 mark 94 after the conclusion of the 3rd game for Chyrel Kneeland. A 3-game total of 277. Up by 9 in the game, up by 9 in the match, as the bowlers were tied prior to this. So Veronica is at a 3-game total of 268. The total is still certainly up for grabs. It's only 9 pins between both bowlers. Both bowlers are bowling very closely against one another. So it is very competitive. It's a very well configured match for sure. Both bowlers should be proud of how they're bowling tonight. As we move to start the 4th game here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, game 4 of 5 will begin now with Veronica McAllister on lane 24. Veronica season average 91.4. She's averaged between 87.1 and 92.4 across all of her matches. High single 116, high series 483 for Veronica McAllister. Perfect box percentage of 30, 6 strikes, 50 spares, 78 tens. Not counting this match, Veronica's strongest when it comes to 10 boxes, but has also been steadily improving in terms of spares. Speaking of spares, here's a spare opportunity. Here's a potential layup. The 4, 7, and the 8 for Veronica McAllister with wood across all of it. Let's see how she does. That will be a spare for Veronica. That's a spare just in the first frame. That always feels good. That's an open 10 after 1. with 1 ball of a fill for Veronica McAllister. Starting it off right with a mark. If you bowl a game of spares with all 9 fills, that's a 190. So you know what? You don't need strikes to get over 150 in Candlepin bowling. Veronica McAllister filling that spare. What's it going to be? Not quite in the head pin, but gets a generous consolation prize. It's going to be a 4 fill for Veronica McAllister. That's 14 after 1. Veronica looking to get another spare, leaving the 5 and the 7 pins. It's just a difficult shot. I believe we called it the setback, a left side setback. McAllister will take an 8 box for 22 and 2. Recently, Veronica faced Wynn Trafton at Academy Lanes in round 9 prior to this match. Both bowlers bowled very well, but Wynn Trafton took all 14 points, unfortunately. Sometimes that just happens. Both bowlers can bowl very well, but sometimes one bowler can still get shut out. Veronica with another impressive ball on the pocket. 8 drop, leaving the 2 and the 5 pins. No, the 4 and the 8 pins, excuse me. Veronica McAllister versus the 4 and the 8 pins now. Lane 24. Might be looking good. That's another spare. Second spare of the match for Veronica McAllister. Taking out the 4 and the 8 pin. Open 32 after 3. That puts her at 300 officially for a match total. Now let's see what Veronica can do for a fill. Good fill will put her in good standing here for this game and the match. Veronica, that ball looks good. Down the center, lightly thrown so it doesn't punch out. 8 fill, 7-10 split. Potentially with wood. Piece of wood over the 7 pin. I kind of like where it is. Might be positioned to take the 10, and the ball may take the 7 if it hits it the right way. Let's see how Veronica plays it. And I don't think she hits it quite the way either she or I would have intended to hit it, but she takes out the 7 pin in the process, so doesn't leave with nothing. So now she's facing a 9 or 10 box opportunity here. And it's going to be a 10 box. Wow, that was a bullet. Bullet on that 10 box. 50 and 4 for Veronica McAllister. 50 and 4 for Veronica McAllister. That's definitely the best performance she's put up tonight in terms of a single half with 1 to go. Veronica on the head pin again. 7 drop. She seems to really have dialed in the aim now in this game. The 7, 9, and 10 pins with wood. Again, this is a difficult shot. I think you have to red line the wood. You might even have to hit it a little bit on the left of the red line to get the desired effect, to get the spare on this. See how Veronica will play it. She's right on it. Well, she seemed right on it, and then the ball drifted a little bit to the right. So to take out the 7 and the 9 pin with that piece of wood there, I think I would still recommend the same strategy as if you were going for a spare. See what Veronica can do at this point. She's going to miss it to the right. That's going to be an 8 box. 58 in 5 for Veronica McAllister. A really impressive first half. Her best half of the night. And possibly one of her best halves of the season. 58 and 5. That's very good. If she can duplicate the same performance, she might be looking at a potential high single here. So we'll see. We'll put a cork in that to be continued for the second half of Veronica McAllister. But meanwhile, we'll shift the focus back to Chyrel Kneeland. Starting out our first half of the 4th game here. Chyrel Kneeland, high single 123, high series 511. With an 8 drop to start, leaving the 4 and the 5 with wood. Both bowlers seem to be improving with their first ball, particularly with how it is thrown in terms of intensity and aim. 4 and the 5 with wood, you'd basically have to play that wood to get the spare for the trick shot. And it looks like Chyrel hit it a little bit too far forward. Probably red line or higher was probably the best bet. And by higher, I mean on the right side of it. Chyrel will take a 9-box, leaving only the 5-pin. 9 after 1 for Chyrel Kneeland. 89, 94, 94 thus far for Chyrel versus Veronica's 92, 91, and 85. Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire on this Wednesday night, this ACST Class D North match. Chyrel is the home bowler. Veronica is visiting from Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. Chyrel will drop 5. Sleeper pin behind the 136. It's the 9-pin, along with the 7-pin tagging along in the background. Chyrel needs to hit the 1-3 pocket for this to go. Overthrows it a little bit. Takes out 2 in the back. 1, 3, and 7 pins left. Veronica's 4th in D North D3. Chyrel is 3rd in D North D1. Chyrel will take that 10-box as a consolation prize for 19 after 2. Rollers are off to the races in this game here. In case you missed it, you might want to rewind. Veronica had a great 58 half with 2 spares. High-powered first half for Veronica McAllister. Chyrel Kneeland looking to respond. Bowled a 9 and a 10 so far. On the head pin, maybe a little too full, but had a generous 6 drop. 3, 6, 10, and 7 on lane 24. Chyrel can take a spare here if she hits the 3-6 pocket, potentially. It all depends on the kick of the 3-pin and if it can take out the 7-pin in the process. Let's see what happens. So that took out the 3-6-10. She hit the 3 on the left side, not quite the 3-6 pocket, leaving the 7-pin. 9 or 10 box opportunity now for Chyrel Kneeland. Chyrel Kneeland with a perfect box percentage of 37. That's another 10 box to improve that stat. Chyrel has seasonal total pins of 48-33, not counting tonight's match. But it will be plus 306 in whatever comes in the next 16 boxes for Chyrel Kneeland. Chyrel's first ball of the 4th frame is a 6 drop, leaving the 4 horsemen left side, the 1, 2, 4, and 7 pins. Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Would like to take a brief moment to mention the recent passing of Eric Vadney, who was one of Kickler's Den's bartenders on July 2nd of 2023. Eric Vadney was an awesome guy. He loved lobster. He always remembered who you were and could often almost telepathically tell what you wanted before you even asked him. But we're going to miss him. Check out the Memorial Lobster in Kickler's Den the next time you're there and think of Eric. Maybe order a drink for him. Looks like it's going to be a 6-box for Chyrel Kneeland on lane 4. 1 to go. On the head pin again, leaving the 4, the 5, and the 7 pins on lane 24. Leda is located, around a series of shopping plazas and the Santander Bank across the street. Used to be the Kahala Chinese restaurant on the Grand Buffet, and right next to it. They were infamous for being advertised during the WNDS Stars and Strikes show. Chyrel taking out everything but the 5-pin here on the second ball of the 5th box. Leda just recently upgraded and replaced its seating and is, I'm not sure if they're still selling the old seating, but they were for a little while. Check out their Facebook page if you're interested. That's a 9-box for Chyrel Kneeland. She sits at 44 after 5. Versus Veronica McAllister's 58 and 5. That puts her in real good pace. Veronica McAllister now going to try to see if she can go get a new high single tonight. And like I said, if she can duplicate this first half, maybe even get it to 60, might be potentially in the cards for it. So we'll see what Veronica can do. Switching to lane 23 now. Veronica has gotten really good with the aim on the head pin shots in the first ball in particular as of the first half of this game. She's really improved that compared to last game. She must have made a slight adjustment. Veronica on the head pin again. 7 drop, 8 drop, maybe a 9 drop. Is that going to be another strike? Not quite. The 3-pin wobbles but doesn't fall down. But that was a really impressive ball by Veronica right on the head pin. Potential spare opportunity. Single pin spare. These can be deceptive. Single pin spares can have a bit of a psychological kind of effect to them. As easy as they might look, sometimes you'd be amazed at how often even the pros can miss these. Veronica for the spare. Misses the 3-pin to the right. Like I said, single pin spares are tough to hit. Not as easy as they look. So Veronica now for a 10 box potentially. By all rights, this really should have been a strike if that wiggling pin had fallen as it should have. But hey, it was 9 box. Veronica just yelled it was not meant to be. 9 box for Veronica, 67 and 6. She's got 4 boxes to go. 67 and 6. This is probably going to be definitely an over-average game for Veronica, my guess. Dialing in the first ball on the head pin again. 1-2 pocket. 5 drop this time. The right side check mark plus the 9 box. Nah, 9 pin, excuse me. 3, 5, 6, 9, 10. Little cluster of pins on the right side. Hitting the 3-5 or 3-6 pocket will definitely take this out. Will it go? Hits the 3-6 pocket, leaving the 5 and the 9. The 5 pin even wiggling a little bit from the piece of wood that careened past it, tapping it on the way out. Veronica now for an 8, 9, or 10 box. The 5 and the 9 pins. It's going to be an 8 box for Veronica McAllister. 75 and 7. If you're just tuning in, this is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, a season-long series of one-on-one Candlepin bowling matches between challengers organized into classes and divisions competing for playoff contention. If you're just joining us, thanks for tuning into this broadcast. If you've been watching, appreciate having you. And Veronica again with another ball that really should have been a strike, taking out everything but the 8-pin. The 8-pin even wiggling a little bit. Single pin spare now, potential for Veronica McAllister. See if she can get it. She can get another spare. This will really make things interesting in terms of how high of a game she can get here. She averages 91.4. And she misses the 8-pin by 2 or 3 inches or so. Again, single pin spares are difficult to get, so even the pros miss them. And missing it slightly to the right. That's a 9 box for Veronica. 84 and 8 now. Oops. 84 and 8 now for Veronica McAllister. Everybody involved here, from the bowlers to the staff you cannot see, all appreciate your viewership and interest in this live stream, as well as Candlepin bowling as a whole. If you live in the area or are willing to make the pilgrimage, the Candlepin bowling community would absolutely appreciate your interest and visitation. Check out candlepin.org and click Go Bowling to find your nearest center if you would like to give this unique regional sport a try. As Veronica is left with the 3, 6, 4, and 7 pins. 3, 6, 4, and 7 pins for Veronica McAllister. For a spare potential. And she sails the ball right down the middle. One of those shots that if you connect with something, you're not guaranteed anything. And I know that's about the most useless commentary you could ever provide, but that's all I can really say about this 4-pin split here. Veronica will take a 6 box. She's cooling off a little bit after that blockbuster first half. That's 90 after 9 for Veronica McAllister. 90 and 9. She needs 4 pins to reach her average. 94.1, I believe. No, excuse me, 91.4. She needs 2 pins to exceed her average. Veronica on the head pin again. That's another head pin shot. A lot of head pin shots tonight. That's the check mark left side plus the 8-pin. 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 for Veronica McAllister. For a potential spare, the last potential spare opportunity for this game for Veronica, and wow, she hits it just the right way, but the pins dance around the 7 and the 8-pin in some kind of a logical fashion. And the only thing I can really say about the second half of Veronica is I think really she deserved better than some of the leaves she got. That's going to be an 8 box for Veronica. That'll conclude her 4th game with 98, setting the stage and the benchmark for Chyrel Kneeland to pass with a 44 half. So Veronica McAllister couldn't quite match the pace of the first half, but she definitely kept things salvageable with 8s and 9s, and with the exception of 1 6 box, she had a pretty good, consistent second half. And some of those 9s are deceptive because those 9s were really 9 drops on the first ball with single pin spares that were just missed by just a little bit. But 98 will be Veronica's 4th game for a 4-game total of 366. Now Chyrel Kneeland is going to see if she can get a couple of marks of her own to try to keep on pace with Veronica McAllister. Again, this has been a very close match. So far, Veronica McAllister is at 366 after 4 games. And there's been plenty of points passed around between our 2 bowlers tonight. And Chyrel will start this out with a 3-pin spread eagle. Not even a 4-pin spread eagle. She took out the 1, the 5, and the 8 pins right down the center and slightly to the left. So this is a spread eagle shot for Chyrel Kneeland. On lane 23 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, Chyrel Kneeland fires. Just doesn't catch the pocket, but takes a few extra for the road. She is left with, wow, the 2, the 3, and the 10 pins. My goodness, this is going to be a pick your poison kind of shot. You're probably going to have to hit the 3-pin in some way if you want to take out the 10-pin and just leave 1 for the road. She's going to take out 1 of the 3 for an 8 box, putting her at 52 and 6. 52 and 6 for Chyrel Kneeland. Compare that to Veronica McAllister's 67 and 6. Chyrel will probably need a mark or 2 to keep things competitive here in the 4th game. In the context of the 4th game. 7 drop for Chyrel. She's left with 2, 5, and 8 on lane 23. 2, 5, and 8. It's a cluster of 3 pins. There's wood around, but the wood isn't really necessarily needed. Let's see how Chyrel plays it. Fires. She hits it full yet not full. She takes out the 2 and the 5, leaving the 8. And that's about all we have to say about that. 9 or 10 box now for Chyrel Kneeland. It's going to be a 10 box for 62 and 7 for Chyrel. 62 and 7 versus 75 and 7 for the point differential here. Veronica had 75. Chyrel has 62. First ball, the 8th frame for Chyrel Kneeland is looked like it was going to be a hammer strike at the speed of which the pins fell, but we now are looking at the 7 and the 8 with a piece of wood that is still settling. Where it settles is going to be a big question here. And it looks like it might be in the right spot. If Chyrel can redline this wood, I think it will go. Chyrel fires. Ah, and misses. Somehow doesn't land in the gutter, but doesn't take out this 10 pin. Doesn't take out the 7 pin either. I don't know how that was achieved, but the achievement was made. Achievement unlocked. Chyrel Kneeland for the 10 box. There's the 10 box. The 3-ball spare. Missed the 2nd, get the 3rd. That's a 10 box for Chyrel. 72 and 8. Second 10 box in a row for Chyrel Kneeland. The 2nd time this game she's achieved 2 10 boxes in a row. 72 and 8 versus Veronica McAllister's 84 and 8. Still salvageable if Chyrel can get a mark. Chyrel on the head pin once again. She's been really nailing those head pin shots. 5 drop this time. Spread eagle minus the 3 pin. 2, 4, 7, 6, and 10 pins on the deck. This is a difficult spare shot. Really, your only hope for this is take the 2 in the 4 pocket out for a spin and see what happens. No wood to help Chyrel on this one. Takes out the 4 and the 7 and nothing else. 7, 8, 9, or 10 box now for Chyrel Kneeland. Chyrel with 6 strikes, 69 spares, and 91 10s for the season. That's going to be a 9 box for Chyrel. 81 and 9. And now it might be do or die in terms of this game when it comes to marks. Chyrel does need a mark to pass Veronica at this point. At a minimum, a spare and a 7 fill to tie. or striking a 7 fill, whichever comes first. Chyrel missing the head pin this time, half Worcester left side. This next ball will determine if Veronica wins the game here, the 4th game. Whether Veronica gets 2 points. Chyrel, that will be the game for Veronica. Chyrel misses the object pin, leaving 6 on the deck, 4 down, 6 up. 1, 5, 3, 9, 6, 10. And that is going to be an 8 box for Chyrel Kneeland, concluding her 4th game with an 89 after 10. So Veronica McAllister is up in the game by 9, and oh my goodness, once again, here at the 4th game, we are tied in terms of the match total. For the 2nd time this match, it happened in the 2nd game, and now it's happened again here in the 4th game. 366 4-game total for both of our bowlers, with Veronica taking the 4th game by 9. But the total is still up for grabs. That makes this 5th game super important, and it makes it super exciting when you really think about it, because the 5th game will be all about taking 6 points rather than 2 points. Yeah, you guys are still tied. Good. Yeah, big 5th game here. Yeah. Definitely, yeah. It's worth 6. 5th game is a big one. You might. Yeah, I forget how many. Yeah, we'll just see. Yeah, you will. Yeah. Yeah, it's just cut in half. So we'll see. Just talking with Chyrel, slightly off mic there, just about the dilemma. And yeah, there's a couple scenarios that could play out here. If they tie in the 5th game, they'll split some points, and it will be a really weird distribution of points, for sure. Anyways, let me just scroll my scoreboard down here to get to the 5th game. So Veronica doesn't get a spare. She's left with only the 8 pin on the deck. Or excuse me, just a 9 box. Thought that was the 2nd ball. It was actually the 3rd ball. 9 box for Veronica McAllister to start out the 5th game. So yes, our bowlers tied twice in the 2nd and the 4th games, and only really deviating from one another by just a few pins in the 4th game, really. In the 3rd game, I mean. Both bowlers being incredibly competitive tonight. This is exactly the kind of match you want to see. Literal blow by blow. Veronica McAllister dropping 6 on lane 24 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. 3, 6, 10, and 4 pins. No wood to help Veronica here. Takes out the 3-6 pocket, doesn't kick over to the 4, but she takes out the 3, 6, and 10. It was a very well played shot for Veronica McAllister. The 4 pin is all that is left on the deck for a 10 box potential for Veronica McAllister on lane 24 here at Leda Lanes. Veronica, the visiting bowler. That is a 10 box for Veronica. Really well aimed single pin 10 box. I'm sure Veronica wishes she could have done that in the previous game where she had a couple of single pin spare opportunities lined up. But she's at 19 after 2 here in the 5th game. This is the final first half that Veronica will bowl in the match tonight. And it looks like the pin setter dropped an extra pin into the gutter, so we do need to clear that. So we will quickly pause and switch to some B-roll while we wait for that. So yeah, we're at Leda Lanes, 36 lanes, tons of stuff going on at Leda Lanes. Brand new automatic scoring, as you may have noticed tonight. We have Chyrel Kneeland, our home bowler of D North Division 1. And here's some stats we can flash. Her season average is 96.7. It's a little bit higher than Veronica McAllister's, whose is 91.4. And both bowlers are fighting for wildcard spots and positional points tonight. And the funny thing enough, ironically, I think both of them will be going home potentially with very similar quantities of points. So given how well they've been bowling and how closely they've been bowling tonight, Veronica drops 5. Spread eagle minus the 2 pin. The 3, 6, 10, 4, and 7 are left on the deck. There's a piece of wood across the 4 and the 7 pins. As Veronica now goes for a spare. And she, again, takes out the 3, 6, 10 on the 3, 6 pocket. The right kind of shot on the right kind of object pins. But doesn't kick over to the 4 and the 7, so she's left with an 8, 9, or 10 box opportunity here. Veronica McAllister for an 8, 9, or 10. It looks like it's going to be a 9 box. Really awkward movement of the ball and the piece of wood that she hit. I wouldn't have hit it any different, but sometimes that's just Candlepin for you. That's a 9 box for Veronica McAllister. That's 28 after 3. 2 boxes to go for Veronica McAllister. She came off of a 58 half in the previous game with 2 marks in the first half. Veronica doesn't connect with the head pin, but she leaves the 1, the 2, the 4, the 8, and the 10 pins on the deck. 1-2 pocket is probably the object shot here. And surprisingly, this can go. Believe it or not. Veronica, 4 spare. Takes out, wow, only the 2 pin. And I swear that ball was in the right spot, but it somehow completely left the 1 pin standing. So we now have the 1, the 4, the 8, and the 10 pins on the deck for Veronica McAllister on lane 24 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. 1 more down. That's a 7 box for Veronica, leaving the 1, the 8, and the 10 pins on the deck. 35 and 4 for Veronica. With 1 to go before we switch back over to Chyrel Kneeland. We appreciate you watching the stream tonight on this Wednesday night at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. We've had a busy schedule the past couple of weeks, plenty of matches scheduled, both now in the past and in the future. We have a couple coming up just later this week. I myself will be bowling on Friday and Saturday, and there'll be tons of other matches. Info is regularly posted on the Candlepin Chat Facebook page if you wish to keep track of the Candlepin action at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. And Veronica McAllister for a potential spare. She has left only the 9 pin with a late falling piece of wood almost grazing it. But it wasn't meant to be. This is a 9 or 10 pin opportunity for Veronica McAllister on lane 24, Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. That's a 10 box for Veronica McAllister, 45 and 5. Not a bad half for Veronica. She had a 58 half in the previous game. 9s and 10s seem to be the name of the game aside from 1 7 box for Veronica, so she's done a very good job pinning it out. It is now Chyrel's turn. Chyrel, who struggled in terms of finding marks in the last game, but she does have a strike on record and the only person to have a strike on record in this match. So let's see what Chyrel can come up with in this all-important 5th game, a 6 points on the line, and Chyrel drops 8 with the 10 pin really wobbling, and I swear it could have gone, but it just refuses to. But this could be a layup spare, the 6-10 with wood. Chyrel Kneeland just has to carefully just guide the ball down there on the right side of the deck. Will it go? Looks like it's going to. Yes, it is. That is a spare for Chyrel Kneeland. Nice 6-10 layup for 10 and a ball after 1 in the 5th game. We are off to the races. Always good to start off a game with a mark. Big fill ball for Chyrel here. As we get closer to the end, these boxes start mattering more and more for the total and the game for the 6-pin differential. That's a 6 fill for Chyrel, putting her at 16 after 1. Excuse me, a 5 fill, if I can count the sleeper pin behind it. 15 after 1 for Chyrel. Connects with, wow, the head pin, and the pins dance around a little bit, leaving the 4 and the 10. 4 and the 10 with some potential wood. That's an 8, 9, or 10 box potential for Chyrel Kneeland. Made a valiant spare effort, but the pins just didn't want to cooperate. That's going to be a 9 box for Chyrel Kneeland. 24 after 2. And 3 to go for Chyrel Kneeland's first half. 24 after 2. Compare that to Veronica McAllister's 19 after 2. Here in the 5th and final game of a very tight match. Total has been very, very close between these two bowlers, tying exactly at the conclusion of 2 games tonight. Chyrel dropping 5, leaving the 4 horseman right side and the 9 pin behind it. Difficult to see that 9 pin from where we are, but it is there. Trust me, and I'll trust the scoreboard. And Chyrel will just miss the head pin by a little bit, leaving 2/3 of the high-low jack, the 1 and the 10 pins, for an 8, 9, or 10 box opportunity. She could be sitting at 34 and 3 if she gets this. And it's going to be 32 and 3 with that 8 box. 32 and 3 for Chyrel Kneeland versus Veronica McAllister is 28 after 3. 411 to 398 after Veronica has finished the first half with Chyrel. Still two boxes to go here. At the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, we appreciate you watching this very tight match. If you're interested in figuring out what's going on with the ACST, or if you're potentially even thinking of joining the ACST, signups are forming soon, and we are going to be introducing a new E-class in the ACST because there's been so much interest. We had to add another class and division set for the ACST, so I believe that's going to be coming up. And Chyrel, 4-pin spread eagle with the 10 pins sliding nearly into the gutter and not falling. Her second ball going into the chasm in the center. Ooh, and this she's going to have to hit something to possibly get something more than a 4 box. It's going to be a 6 box. Not super disastrous, but a little bit lower than normal. 6 box after 4. 38 in 4 for Chyrel. Compare that to 35 in 4 for Veronica. Again, we are very, very close. 3 pins separate them as of the 4th box. They were tied as of the start of the 5th game. So the differential really is 3 at this point. Chyrel with the right side 6-pin drop. I believe we call that a lemon drop. First lemon drop of the right side of tonight, I believe. For a potential spare for Chyrel Kneeland now. Lane 24, she can get that curve dialed in, but doesn't quite curve soon enough. She's left with the 4 horseman left side and the 8-pin. That's the 1, 2, 4, 7, and 8. For a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. Lane 24, Kneeland fires just off the pocket by millimeters, leaving the 1 and the 8-pin for an 8 box to conclude her conclude her first half with 46 and 5, game and match lead of 1. This is how close this is, folks. This is going to come down to the final 5 boxes. And again, their totals are 411 to 412. This is huge. This game is worth 6 points because the total is worth 4 points and the game is worth 2. This is a big 5th game. Neck and neck. The definition of neck and neck, I don't know if I've seen a match so far where it's been so consistently close. Both bowlers consistently staying competitive with one another, nearly blow for blow. Very small point differentials here. This is prime ACST bowling action here. Don't let the D-class label fool you. This is competition at its finest. Veronica McAllister on lane 23. Misses the head pin, but some wood helps out. 4 drop, 4 horsemen right side, along with the 5 and the 9 pins. Sleeping behind. If Veronica can take the 1-3 pocket, which has some wood, it might go. And it looks like it's, oh, nearly goes. It was the right hit. I wouldn't have done it any differently. The 6-pin fell but didn't fall into the 10, and the wood somehow missed the 10 entirely. That's a hard shot now for a 10 box. I think it's probably going to end up being a 9 unless Veronica can curve it around that piece of wood, which might be difficult to say if it's in or out. I might argue that it might not be playable, but we'll see what happens. That's going to be a 9 box for Veronica McAllister as the ball goes into the gutter. Doesn't hit the pin anyway. 54 and 6 for Veronica McAllister now. Appreciate you watching this. This is a close match. If you're tuning in, stay tuned. Don't go putting on Jeopardy or whatever's on right now. I don't even know. Stay tuned here because this is big. This is a big match for big points. Veronica McAllister, lane 23 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. She takes out the 4, the 7, and the 8 on the left side. Looks like she might have had the yips on that ball a little bit. Misfiring to the left. Lane 23. Going for the spare. And off to the right this time. Only the 10 pin taken out. My apologies, it's actually only 3 pins down. Thought the 8 pin was taken out. Apparently I was wrong. So only 3 down. Veronica fighting for points. That's going to be a 6 box. For 60 and 7 for Veronica McAllister. Veronica McAllister, who averages 91.4 for the season on average. She has bowled anywhere between an 87.1 average to 92.4 average throughout the season so far. This is week 10. High single 116, high series 483. Perfect box percentage of 30. Veronica McAllister on lane 23. Again with a 3 drop.
Did I have a 6 in that box instead of a 5?
I had it down as a 6.
Yeah, she's got it as a 5 and it's a 5 up there. It was a 6.
Okay. Just double checking on a few scores. We'll see where those land. Always good to validate scores because, especially in tight matches like this, so I'll usually just offer what I see and what I saw. Looks like it's going to be a 5 box for Veronica. For 65 and 8 by my watch. And yes, we will have to double check Chyrel's score because, yes, we do have a bit of a point differential on the board up there. On the automatic board, Chyrel has 45 instead of 46, so we will double check that. Again, the stream score is unofficial. It's just what I'm keeping track back here behind the scenes in the back rows. Veronica's dropped 6, 1, 3, 6, and 10 now for a potential spare opportunity. 4 horsemen right side. On lane 23 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Not on the 1-3 pocket, but on the 3-6 pocket, Veronica is left with just the single pin, the head pin. And that is going to be a potential 10-box opportunity for Veronica McAllister. See where this goes. It's going to be a 9-box for Veronica. That puts her at 74 and 9. 74 and 9. And Veronica has 1 to go. 440 match total so far. Veronica's high series is 483. And her final first ball of this match is another 3 drop, the 6, 9, and 10. 7 left on the deck. McAllister for the spare. No spare. That's going to be the 4-pin drop. 6 on the deck left. For a potential 10-box. Anywhere from 4 to 10. It's going to be a 6-box. A frustrating 6-box for Veronica. That concludes her 10th frame, and that concludes her 5-game series with 446. And that is going to be 80 in the 5th game for Veronica McAllister. 92, 91, 85, and 98 for a 5-game total of 446 for Veronica McAllister. Chyrel Kneeland is now going to step up to lane 23. And we're going to see where this goes now. Before we continue, we would like to announce that there is potentially a score correction here. There appears to be a bit of a differential between my score and the paper and computer score. It would appear that Chyrel had 46 according to my watch, but the automatic score system scored 45. So I'm not sure who is right. We'll obviously be able to watch the video after and confirm everything, but we will obviously keep a close eye on that as this is a close match. So if someone in the comments already caught it, go ahead and leave a comment, which is time-stamped. That would definitely help in terms of going back and finding it later. Anyway, Chyrel drops 7 in the first box and almost gets the spare, the 6, 10, 7. The 6 almost cutting across to take out the 7, but it doesn't. It just falls a little bit short. So now Chyrel is looking at a 9 or a 10 box opportunity. Chyrel has to get to 80 or better to tie or take points. If she gets higher than 80, gets 81, she will take 6 points for the 5th game. But that's a 10 box for 56 and 6. 56 and 6 for Chyrel Kneeland versus Veronica McAllister's 54 and 6. Chyrel up by 2 at this point in the match by the 6th frame. It is more or less sudden death at this point. Chyrel Kneeland on lane 23 on the head pin. 8 drop, 9 drop. 10 pin falls by surprise. With a 6, the 6 pin is all that is left with wood. And it might be a layup of a spare. Plenty of wood around it. As long as Chyrel doesn't miss, that is a spare. That is a definitive spare for Chyrel. That's going to be 66 and 7, plus a ball. It is worth noting that the automatic score system says 65 and a ball, but I will intentionally keep things the way it is, the way I've been scoring it here on the stream, just to, in the event that one of these is right and one of these is wrong, just for the sake of argument again. But if Chyrel pulls ahead far enough, then it won't matter anyway. So that's an 8 fill for Chyrel. 74 and 7 for Chyrel. That is a good spare leave. She's looking at the 6 and the 9 with a piece of wood. That looks like it's going to be the 2nd spare in a row. Chyrel is pulling ahead here. 84, this is the 5th game for Chyrel. She has secured the points officially. So regardless of what that score correction before was, this is going to be the 6 points awarded to Chyrel Kneeland tonight. Open 84 and a ball on the 8th frame for Chyrel Kneeland. And that's a 2 fill. Looks like the automatic score system also filled her 7th spare with 6 potentially, so... But that's definitely a fault to the automatic scoring system that time. I caught that one. Oh, Chyrel going through the hole where the half Worcester pocket was. Heartbreaker of a 2nd ball on a half Worcester shot. So we're looking at anywhere between a 2 and a 10 box for Chyrel Kneeland at this point. And she connects with the head pin. And only gets 1. That's a wow, a 3 box for Chyrel. 89 and 9 now. By my watch. 89 and 9 by my scoreboard. It's 86 and 9 according to the automatic scoreboard, but just saying that just for reference in case we need to know for later. I believe 89 is the correct number just by my watch. So that's a 6 drop for Chyrel Kneeland. On her first opening ball, that's the 1, 8, 6 and 10. For a potential spare, this is Chyrel's final spare attempt of the night. She had a double spare earlier. Let's see if she can continue that trend, and the ball bounces a little bit. Looks like she's left with the 1, the 6, and the 10 pin now for a 7, 8, 9, or 10. At this point, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that Chyrel has taken the match. That is a 9 box for 98 for Chyrel. 98 is what I conclude with. We may talk with the bowlers afterwards offline just to confirm that. 95 is Chyrel's score up on this automatic scoreboard, but regardless, 3-pin differential, it still should not matter necessarily here. But anyways, so I will call it here in terms of my perspective. Chyrel Kneeland will take the 5th game and the total for a 5-game total of 464 for Chyrel Kneeland after her 98 5th game versus Veronica McAllister's 80 for her 5th game for a 4-game total of 446. Veronica with a 92, a 91, an 85, a 98, and an 80. And then Chyrel Kneeland with an 89, a 94, another 94, an 89, and then a 98 for a 5-game total of 464 for Chyrel Kneeland. And we'll cut it down here for some additional stats here. So we have Veronica McAllister, who will take 4 points for the night, who will fall to 37 and 103 from 33 and 93 in terms of the wins and losses. Chyrel Kneeland will take 10 points for 74 and 80, coming up from 64 and 76. And here we are for the strikes, spares, 10s, average, and perfect box percentage. 0 strikes for spares, 9 10s, 89.2 average, and 26% perfect box percentage for Veronica McAllister versus 1 strike, 5 spares, 12 10s, 92.8 average, and a perfect box percentage of 36 for Chyrel Kneeland. that will be it for us from today at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. If you're new to the world of Candlepin bowling content, hey, thanks for giving this content a try. If you enjoyed what you saw, I invite you to strike, comment, and subscribe to the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour page on Facebook, as well as Alley Chat, Candlepin Corner, and Candlepin Bowling Network, where all kinds of other videos and streams are regularly posted, in addition to results and statistics. If you are a returning viewer, it's great to have you along once again and hope you enjoyed this program. If you are into podcasts, there's also Candlepin shows such as The Approach and Ripping the Rack, so check those out if you feel so inclined. Some special thanks, Next Gen Stats, powered by Micah Imperato, the ACST League Commissioner Danny Finn, Brian Hebert for statistical graphics used in this broadcast, the staff at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, and of course Veronica McAllister and Chyrel Kneeland and Ray McAllister as well join me in the audience, and everyone else here. I've been Steve Kelly, and I hope you have a fantastic evening. Have a great night, day, evening, morning, or whatever it is, everybody. Till then, next time, talk to you soon.